There are many pieces of safety equipment on the excavator, but there is no guarantee that they'll get the job done unless you use the safety equipment. And you must use good safety judgment as well. A seatbelt is provided for your comfort and security. Before going to work, check that the mirrors on the unit are clean and are set properly. Make a quick check of the controls. Be sure that the control levers are operating properly. Also check the propel system to make sure it is in working order. It's better to take a moment now than to find out at a critical moment when it's too late to avoid an accident. As the operator, you have the primary responsibility for the actions of the excavator. Always think about what you have to do before you do it. Never stop thinking about what is the safe thing to do, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. This brings up another important point. Never permit riders in the bucket, in the cab, or anywhere on the machine. The excavator has only one seat, and that is for you, the operator. Carrying riders is an extremely dangerous practice. Another safe practice is to never attempt to operate the excavator unless you are in the seat. Operating from any other position constitutes a safety hazard. Reduce speed when traveling over rough terrain or when working in congested areas. In all conditions, carry the bucket or attachment low to the ground for good visibility and machine stability. When moving the machine around the job site, select a route that is flat as possible. Steer the machine as straight as possible, making small, gradual changes in direction. For more stability on slopes, travel up and down them vertically, not diagonally or horizontally. The propel pedal should be on the uphill end of the excavator. This puts more weight on the uphill side and makes the excavator more stable. When propelling upslope, the boom and arm should be extended with the bucket carried low and rolled out. If the unit begins to slide, you can quickly drop the bucket to help keep the unit from sliding. When propelling down a slope, the bucket bottom should be low and parallel to the ground. Again, the propel motor should be on the uphill end for added stability. In very steep or slippery conditions, you can use the boom and arm to help move up or down the slope. When going upslope, extend the boom and arm. Where needed, lower the bucket and retract the arm to help pull the unit up. This procedure can be repeated if necessary. As before, the propel motor should be on the uphill side. To move the excavator down a hill or off an embankment, position the bucket with the flat surface resting on the ground. While retracting the arm, raise the boom and propel the machine until the front of the tracks reaches the ground level. Before you dig, be sure to call the utility services in the area to have the job site marked for underground lines or structures. In most areas, there's a free or low-cost one-call locator service. It's better to take a little time before the project begins to know what you may encounter. If you cut through a gas pipeline or an electrical line, you could be losing more than a little time. It is also important to be aware of what is overhead. Serious injury or death can result from contact with electrical lines. When trenching, always make sure your machine is level. Placing dirt under the tracks will help you accomplish that. Being level will make the trench vertical and help avoid cave-ins. Also, for better stability, work with the propel motors to the rear of the machine. Another way to prevent cave-ins is to dump spoil piles as far away from the excavation as possible. The deeper the excavation or looser the material, the farther the spoil pile should be placed from the excavation. And whenever possible, place spoil piles for convenient backfilling or truck loading. When working on a slope, level the machine by digging a shelf, often referred to as a bench cut. Material removed from the upper slope can be used to build up the lower slope to create a level surface for the excavator. On steep bench cuts, be sure to cut enough away from the upper bank to allow for adequate swing clearance when casting downslope. Do not dig near the edge of an excavation or trench, and never dig underneath the excavator. When backfilling or cleaning up a cave-in, the excavator track should be at a 90-degree angle to the excavation, with the propel motors to the rear of the machine. The fastest way to load a truck is with the excavator on a bench and the truck placed below. When both are at ground level, the most productive technique is with the truck to the side of the excavator. When loading trucks, never swing the excavator bucket over the truck cab. It is your responsibility to set the truck where you want it to be. By swinging over the rear of the truck, any loose material will either fall in the dump bed or on the ground, not on top of the truck cab. If you clean the bucket by wrapping it against the stop, use a minimum amount of force to prevent cylinder damage. Clean the bucket by hand if wrapping lightly does not work. Never attempt to clean the bucket by striking it against the ground or another object. When shutting down the unit, it should be parked on a level surface with the bucket or attachment lowered to the ground. Turn off the auto idle switch and run the engine at half throttle without load for a couple of minutes to help cool down the turbocharger. Set the RPM to low idle before shutting off the engine with the key switch. If you're shutting down for the day, it's a good idea to close up the unit. If you haven't already, move the pilot shutoff lever rearward before exiting the machine. Don't forget to lock up the cab. You never know who might drop by. Clean the undercarriage to avoid material buildup that could lead to increased component wear. To avoid condensation in the fuel tank, fill it at the end of the day. Be sure to use ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel. If you plan to haul the unit, you should use extreme caution when loading it on or off a trailer. Be sure the trailer is sitting on a firm, flat surface. The bed should be clean of debris. Use chalk blocks against the trailer wheels to help prevent the trailer from moving. You should always fasten your seatbelt before loading or unloading in case of an overturn. Before you start loading the excavator, set the RPM at a low setting and turn off auto idle. It is recommended that you have a spotter to help line up the excavator. Drive the machine onto the trailer slowly with the boom and arm at a 90-degree angle. As you begin to drive onto the trailer, position the bucket with the flat surface nearly resting on the trailer. To keep the excavator straight and on target, some operators line up on a board or other object on the trailer. Once on the trailer, the boom and arm should be tucked into the travel position. Removing the bucket will help lower the transport height of the unit if need be. Before you leave the machine, shut off the hydraulics and close up the cab. Fasten each corner of the machine to the trailer with a chain or cable with appropriate load binder. Before you haul the machine, be sure of its overhead height to the ground. It's better to know your limitations beforehand rather than learning the hard way after you hit something. Also be sure to banner and flag the load in accordance with governmental road regulations. After arriving at your destination, you need to rotate the house 180 degrees to unload the unit. Slowly move the machine over the end of the trailer onto the ramp with the flat surface of the bucket on the ground and the boom and arm at a 90-degree angle. Remember, the bucket should be on the ground before the machine tips forward. When the machine is done tipping forward, keep moving forward and raise the boom and retract the arm until the machine is completely off the ramp. As we've seen, the excavator is equipped with many safety features and systems, but it's up to you, the operator, to use them. You have to think about every move you make before you make it. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It only takes one mistake to make the difference in your life and in the lives of others. Statistics show that of all the accidents reported, over 90% of the operators hurt or killed were listed as experienced. Accidents don't always happen to the other guy. That other guy could be you.